Yesterday, the former head of the political bureau of Hamas, Khaled Mashal, said in an interview to the French newspaper Le Figaro that Hamas's strategy is to end the war, and he added, "Right now, we are ready to negotiate on all issues directly with Israel, that is, through mediators." Now that Hamas is losing, it wants to end this war. But this is not acceptable, not after Hamas terrorists conducted an operation and murdered more than 1,400 Israeli civilians, including women, children, and the elderly, on a Saturday morning when they were sleeping in their homes after a holiday of Simchat Torah. This is not acceptable. We still have more than 100 hostages somewhere inside the Gaza Strip, including babies, children, women, and the elderly. The IDF is ready to do anything in its power in order to destroy Hamas and to return our hostages. This is my personal mission and the mission of the IDF and of all the Israeli soldiers that are fighting against this evil in the Gaza Strip. In the Rantisi hospital area in the Gaza Strip, IDF forces, in cooperation with the special unit Shayetet 13, which is an equivalent of the US Navy SEALs, and other special forces units, located and investigated 3 operational terror shafts. During the entrance, fights emerged in the area of the hospital, and terrorists dressed as doctors tried to shoot at the IDF forces. IDF fighters eliminated dozens of terrorists. They continued local searches and raids on buildings in the area of the hospital, where many enemy infrastructure were found, including military personnel, media, maps, and many weapons. In this operation, several tunnel shafts were found connected to a wide underground network that runs under the hospital, spreading several kilometers long, and lead to strategic points in the heart of Gaza City. The tunnel in Rantisi is close to a school and leads to another school area. The tunnel was also used as a military base for conducting the war in the northern Gaza Strip and for carrying out terror operations. It's crazy that Hamas has terror tunnels inside schools. This is not something that we're used to around the world. The depth of the operational shaft located in the Ramez Fakra girls' schools in the area is about 20 meters. It's about the size of a 3-story building, including an elevator and an electrical infrastructure. Following intelligence information directed by the Intelligence Division, another operational shaft was located inside one of the hiding apartments that was used by one of the commanders of the Hamas terror organization naval forces in the Gaza Strip. In the route of the tunnels, blast doors were found, which were intended to prevent the penetration of the IDF forces into the place and to protect against damage to the route of the tunnels. After mapping and documenting, the IDF destroyed the tunnels. In Darj Trufa, IDF forces encountered a group of terrorists inside a stronghold of Hamas. The fighters realized that they're in the middle of an ambush, and when they noticed, they signaled a combat helicopter that was accompanying the troops. The chopper fired at the building in order to remove the threat and neutralize the terrorist. During another encounter, the forces detected 2 terrorists with RPG missiles approaching in their direction and directed a combat helicopter and a remote manned aircraft to assist them. The combat helicopter shot and neutralized one of the terrorists before the unmanned aerial vehicle spotted and destroyed the other terrorist. The forces raided an area of orchards during the operation, and the fighters encountered a number of terrorists who fired RPG missiles and small arms fire at them. The forces eliminated the terrorists with accurate fire. And in an agricultural area, IDF fighters located 5 offensive shafts and many launch pits that are used to fire missiles and other rockets at the Israeli civilian population. During the attack, armored forces identified 2 terrorists in the area crawling with weapons toward the forces and eliminated them by firing a tank shell. In addition, during the encounter, the anti-tank missile was fired at the force, which did not hit the tank. The armor fighters identified the source from which the terrorist launched the missile and eliminated the terrorist who tried to attack the tank. I know it seems simple, but such precise coordination of air and ground forces requires the IDF to work together, communicate, and be highly technologically capable. Joint IDF forces of infantry, tanks, and the Air Force launched an attack on a terror infrastructure in the El Burij camp, one of the camps in the center of the Gaza Strip. The operation was conducted in order to bring down Hamas's Central Camp Brigade. The center's camps consist of densely populated civilian neighborhoods saturated with infrastructure that constitute an established terrorist nest of Hamas. So far, the forces have been operating in the northern area of the Gaza Strip, fighting and reaching an operational hold on the neighborhoods of Zaytun, Sajaiya, Rimal, and Shati. These neighborhoods are central centers of control for Hamas in the Gaza Strip. The fighters eliminated hundreds of terrorists, destroyed terrorist infrastructure, and inflicted severe damage on Hamas, which lost its ability to control these areas. In the depths of Khan Yunis, in the south of the Gaza Strip, the fighters of the combat teams of the IDF and commando units have been fighting for the last 2 weeks and continue to deepen their activities in cooperation with engineering forces, armored, and the infantry units. Khan Yunis is the most difficult combat so far in the Gaza Strip. Hamas has fortified itself, and after the attack on the northern part of Gaza, Hamas terrorists fled and are entrenching themselves in the area. In the last day, IDF fighters raided and destroyed many terrorist infrastructures and located weapons and intelligence documents. In addition, the fighters raided the observation complex of Hamas terrorist organization that is located inside a mosque. The terrorist network of Hamas is everywhere in the Gaza Strip. Hamas has turned the Gaza Strip into an extreme Islamic terrorist state where the lives of citizens are not important. The whole goal is to fulfill the Iranian heart's desire to destroy the state of Israel. We will not let that happen. And now to Israel's front against Palestinian terror elements throughout Judea and Samaria. IDF fighters launched an attack on several terrorist groups that were planning attacks against Israel. IDF fighters arrested 14 wanted men tonight. They confiscated 12 weapons in the Nur al-Shams refugee camp and in the city of Hebron. The Shin Bet and other special forces operated through the night in a counter-terrorism operation in the Nur al-Shams refugee camp under the command of the Menashe Brigade, which is an infantry unit of the IDF. During the activity, a terrorist squad was identified that threw explosives at the forces, and an Air Force aircraft attacked and neutralized the squad. The forces uncovered and destroyed charges under the sides of the roads that were intended to harm the Israeli troops, arrested 3 wanted persons, and confiscated weapons and terrorist funds. God, I call on you, please protect our soldiers in the West Bank, in the Northern Front, and in the Gaza Strip. Every day, more and more brave Israeli souls Israelis that are fighting against this evil are losing their lives. On Israel's northern front against Hezbollah, an Iranian drone exploded on a residential building. No casualties were reported amongst the Israeli civilians. The IDF estimates that the explosive UAV located in the south of the Golan Heights was launched from Syrian territory at around 10:20 p.m. and exploded in an open area near the Israeli community of Chispin. There was no attempt to intercept the drone, as it was not detected when infiltrated Israel's territory. I want to stop for a moment and say thank you and salute my fellow soldiers who lost their lives in the battles in the Gaza Strip. Major General Asaf Pinchas, 22 years of age, from Kiryat Motzkin, fell yesterday in the battle in the southern part of Gaza Strip. Captain Neria Zisak, 24 years of age, from Masaot Yitzchak, from the Armored Brigade, was killed yesterday in the battle in the center of Gaza Strip. Major Dvir David Fima, 32 years of age, from Kfar Yona. He was killed yesterday in the battle for the center of Gaza Strip. I would like to thank them and their families. And please call on all of you to join me in prayer for the families that somehow need to keep on living. But what encourages me in this terrible war and facing this terrible sacrifice is that each soldier that entered in this war knew that he is fighting and risking his life in order for the rest of us to be able to live here, to have a future in Israel, a peaceful future, to grow our children and to develop our lives. Thank you for sharing the truth from what is happening in Israel, sharing the true face of this enemy called Hamas with the rest of the world. And thank you for joining us in prayers for the peace of Jerusalem.